If a cop says, step out of the car, and you move the wrong way, a simple stop can turn dangerous fast. And if you're a senior, one slow reach can look like a threat, even when you mean no harm. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because what I'm about to reveal could save you from a decade in prison. Hit that button now so you don't miss the next update that keeps you safe. Now let me paint a picture you can feel. It's late afternoon. You're heading home from the pharmacy, a grandkids game, or the grocery store. You see lights in your mirror. Your stomach drops. You pull over. You try to remember where your wallet is. You wonder if you did something wrong. Then the officer walks up and says the words that change the whole mood. Step out of the vehicle. Most people think that means I'm under arrest, but that's not always true. A lot of times it is just a control move. It's the officer trying to put the stop on their terms. And in many places, courts have said police can order a driver out during a traffic stop for safety reasons, even if it feels unfair. So the goal today is not to teach you how to argue. The goal is to teach you how to get through it safely without volunteering your freedom. Here's what just happened in real life, over and over again. A normal stop turns into a resisting accusation because someone moved at the wrong time. Or it turns into, he reached for something, because a hand disappeared near the seat. Or it turns into a rough pullout that causes a fall, a broken wrist, or a hip injury. Seniors are at higher risk because your body does not move like it did at 30. You might have hearing problems, you might have balance issues, you might need a cane, and the officer might not realize any of that in the moment. That's why your words matter before you move. First thing you need to understand is what step out really is. It is usually a command, not a request. That means if you flat out refuse, you might escalate the situation. Escalation is what you never want on the roadside. The roadside is loud, messy, and stressful. Cars fly by, people stare, body cameras roll, and one bad moment can follow you for years. Second thing, and this is the big one, you can comply and still protect yourself. Compliance does not mean you must answer questions. Compliance does not mean you must consent to a search. Compliance does not mean you must move fast. You can obey the order while setting safe conditions. Think of it like this. You're not trying to win the conversation. You're trying to control the risk. Here's the part nobody talks about enough. The most dangerous part of a stop is movement. When an officer is tense, movement looks like danger. You might be reaching for your seatbelt. You might be grabbing your cane. You might be turning your body to swing your legs out. But if your hand disappears, even for a second, an officer may assume the worst. That is how good people end up on the ground. So your job is to keep your hands visible and narrate what you are doing before you do it. Now, seniors, I want you to hear this clearly. There is nothing embarrassing about slowing things down. You are not being difficult. You are being safe. If you have a medical condition, say it early. If you need a moment, say it early. If you cannot move quickly without pain, say it early. The officer cannot read your mind, but they can hear your words, and those words can prevent a terrible misunderstanding. So here is the exact line I want you to use when the officer says, step out. Say it calmly, in a normal voice, with your hands high on the steering wheel. Officer, I will comply. Before I step out, am I being detained, and what is the reason? I'm going to move slowly. That is the sentence. That is your shield. Let me break down why it works in simple English. I will comply lowers the temperature right away. It tells the officer you're not fighting. It tells them they do not need to rush or overpower you. Then you ask, am I being detained, and what is the reason? Being detained means you're not free to leave. It's like being held, even if you're not under arrest. When you ask that question, you force clarity. You also create a clean record on camera that you tried to understand what was happening. Then you add, I'm going to move slowly. That line protects seniors more than almost anything else. Because it tells the officer your slower motion is not hiding something. It is just your body. And if you have a cane, a walker, a bad knee, a bad shoulder, or balance issues, add one more sentence right after. I have a bad knee and I use a cane. I need a moment to step out safely. Most people think they should just try to tough it out. That is how people fall. If you fall and get hurt, the stop becomes a medical emergency, and you might still end up in cuffs while injured. Speak up, calmly, early. Now let me show you what not to do, because these mistakes are common. Do not say, I know my rights. I get why people say it, but it often triggers a power struggle. Do not say, you can't make me. Even if you think you're right, you are increasing the risk. Do not jump into a long story about why you didn't do anything wrong. Nerves make people talk. Talking creates contradictions. Contradictions create suspicion. Your best friend in a traffic stop is calm, short sentences. Here's a hypothetical example to make this real. You're 74. You're driving home from dinner. You get pulled over for a rolling stop. The officer says, step out. If you instantly start digging for your license and registration while the officer is talking, the officer may think you are searching for something else. If you reach down between the seat and the console, that can look like you're grabbing a weapon, even if you're only grabbing a tissue. Instead, you freeze your hands on the wheel and you use the line, then you wait for the next instruction. Now, when you are ready to move, narrate your movement like you're reading a simple script. Okay, I'm unbuckling my seatbelt now. I'm going to reach with my right hand to open the door, then open it. I'm stepping out slowly, then step out. Confusion is the enemy. Imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the 5 words that protect you when cops ask about your gun. Subscribe so you don't miss it, because that one can save you from a life-changing mistake. Now we move into the next part, and this is where it gets interesting. What happens after you step out matters as much as the stepping out itself. Once you are outside the car, the environment is more chaotic. It's windy. They may tell you to stand on the shoulder, behind your bumper, or on the sidewalk. The officer might also start asking fast questions. Fast questions are designed to make you talk. Talking is how people give away information they did not need to give away. So, right after you step out, ask one simple, respectful question. Where would you like me to stand? This does 2 things. It shows cooperation, and it stops you from wandering or turning suddenly. Sudden turning, especially near your waistline, is one of the most misunderstood movements in a stop. Seniors often twist their torso to close the door or adjust clothing. That twist can look suspicious to an officer who is already on edge, so you want to keep your body movements predictable. Next, the officer may ask, do you have any weapons or any guns in the car? This part matters for gun owners. And it also matters if you are not a gun owner, because people get nervous and say weird things. Here's the rule: do not lie. Lying can turn a small stop into a criminal case, but also do not reach. Do not lift your shirt. If you are legally carrying and you need to inform, or you choose to inform to avoid surprises, say this: Officer, I want to let you know I am legally carrying a firearm. It is secured. Please tell me how you want to proceed. Notice what that does. It tells them it's controlled, and it hands the officer the plan so they don't have to guess. Guessing is what creates danger. Some states have a rule called duty to inform. That means you must tell the officer you're carrying. Other states do not require that unless you are asked. Some have different rules depending on the permit. This video cannot cover every state rule in one breath. You need to know your local rule before you drive. If you do not know it, your safest move is to talk to a local attorney or take a trusted local class that covers your state law. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. Now let's hit the next trap. The glove box problem. This is where good people get hurt. Your registration is in the glove box, or you keep a pocket knife or just a bunch of clutter. Do not open the glove box without speaking first. Opening it fast looks like grabbing. My registration is in the glove box. I'm going to keep my hands visible. If there's a firearm in the glove box, add, I also want to let you know there's a firearm in the glove box. I will not open it unless you tell me to. That sentence prevents surprise. Surprise is what spikes fear. Now let's talk about questions. Once you're out of the car, you may hear things like, where are you coming from? Have you had anything to drink? Mind if I take a quick look? But they can have legal consequences. You're not required to help the officer build a case against you. You can be polite and still protect yourself. If you do not want to answer questions, use this line. Officer, I'm not going to answer questions. Am I free to leave? That is clean. If the officer says, yes, you're free to go, then leave calmly. If they say, no, you're not free to go, then you know you're being detained, which means they are holding you for an investigation. In that moment, talking less is usually smarter. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the 50,000 gun owners who get these updates first. Click subscribe, because the next update could be the one you need at the exact wrong moment. Now we're going to cover the word that changes everything: consent. Consent means permission. Officers may ask, do you mind if I search your car? Many people say yes, just to be nice. Or they say, I guess so, because they feel pressure. That is a mistake if you do not want to search. If you do not want to search, say this: I do not consent to any searches. Then stop talking. Do not add, because I didn't do anything. Just stop. Now, very important. Never touch the officer. Never get in a tug of war over your car door. The roadside is not the place to fight. If an officer searches anyway, you still do not consent, but you do not physically interfere. You fight it later with a lawyer in court where you are safe and the rules matter. Next, let's talk about pat-downs. A pat-down is a quick check of the outside of your clothing. It is often for weapons. If the officer says they want to pat you down, keep your voice calm and your hands visible. If you're carrying, do not reach for the firearm. Do not try to hand it to the officer. That move has gotten people hurt. Instead, say, I'm not reaching for anything. If you need to secure it, please tell me what you want me to do. And seniors, add your physical needs. You have every right to say, I have shoulder pain. Please don't pull my arms up high. Or, I have balance issues. I need to lean on the car while you do that. These are safety requests. A good officer will usually work with you, and if an officer is not being careful, those words can matter later. Now let me give you a senior-specific mistake to avoid. Many seniors try to be extra helpful. They rummage around for papers. They dig through a purse. They reach into a pocket full of coins. In your mind, you are cooperating. In the officer's mind, you are reaching into unknown places. Unknown places are scary, so do this instead. Ask for instructions before reaching. My wallet is in my right pocket. Is it okay if I reach for it? Or, my license is in my purse on the passenger seat. How do you want me to get it? This keeps control and reduces fear. Now, let's talk about tone, because tone is half the battle. You do not need to be cheerful. You do not need to be chatty, but you do need to be steady. A steady voice makes you sound credible. A steady voice makes you sound safe. If you get angry, the officer may respond with more control moves. More control moves mean more risk. If you did not hear command, do not guess. Seniors often mishear. Wind and traffic make it worse. Hearing aids can distort. So say, "I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat it?" That is a safe sentence. Guessing is how people fail to comply by accident. Now, the phrase "step out" sometimes comes with more commands. You might hear, "turn around." You might hear, "hands behind your back." You might hear, "sit on the curb." Some of those commands are temporary. Some are the start of an arrest. You cannot always tell in the moment. So use one short question, then stop talking. Am I under arrest or am I being detained? If they answer, good. If they don't answer, don't argue. Just protect yourself by limiting speech. Now, a quick word about recording. In many places, you can record police in public, but laws vary by state. Do not assume, learn your local rule. If you are recording, do not make sudden moves. Do not reach into a console fast. Do not spring your phone up like you're drawing something. If you can, have your phone already mounted, already recording, or tell the officer calmly if appropriate. For everyone's safety, I'm recording. Then leave it alone. Your phone is not a weapon, but sudden movement can be misread. Now let's talk about the part that ruins lives, talking yourself into trouble. People often think, if I just explain, the officer will understand. Sometimes that works, but often it backfires, because you might say something wrong without meaning to. You might guess a time. You might contradict yourself. You might admit to something small that turns into something bigger. You might say, "I only had 2 drinks," when the officer had no reason to suspect drinking until you said it. That is how simple stops grow teeth. So here is your clean line when questions keep coming. I'm choosing to remain silent. Then stop. Silence is not disrespect. Silence is protection. This information could literally expire after January 2026. Subscribe now because the next video explains exactly what you need to do before that deadline hits, including changes that can affect permits, transport rules, and common police encounters. Now, I want to give you a full, simple script you can practice. Practice matters, because stress makes you forget. You can even write these lines on a small card and keep it near your insurance papers. Step 1, you get pulled over. You pull over safely. You put the car in park. You turn down the radio. If it's dark, you turn on the interior light. You keep both hands on the wheel. Step 2, the officer says, "Step out." You keep hands visible and you say, "Officer, I will comply. Before I step out, am I being detained and what is the reason? I'm going to move slowly." If you have a cane or medical issue, you add, "I have a bad knee and I need a moment to step out safely." Step 3, you narrate movement. "I'm unbuckling my seatbelt. I'm reaching for the door handle. I'm stepping out slowly." Then you step out, face forward, hands visible. Step 4, you ask placement. "Where would you like me to stand?" Then you stand there. You do not pace. You do not argue. Step 5, if weapons come up and you need to disclose, you say, "Officer, I want to let you know I am legally carrying a firearm. It is secured. I will not reach for it. Please tell me how you want to proceed." Then you do not touch it. Step 6, if they ask to search, you say, "I do not consent to any searches." Then you stop talking. Step 7, if they start asking lots of questions, you say, "Officer, I'm not going to answer questions. Am I free to leave?" If they keep pushing, you say, "I'm choosing to remain silent." Now let's talk about what happens after the stop, because seniors often skip this step. If you believe something went wrong, write down what happened as soon as you safely can. Time, location, the reason the officer gave, what was said, what you said, badge number if you saw it, car number if you saw it. If there were witnesses, note that too. Memory fades fast, especially after stress. Notes help your lawyer help you. If you were injured, get medical care. Not to be dramatic, to be accurate. If you have bruising or pain, documentation matters. Seniors get hurt more easily and injuries can take longer to show up. Don't ignore it. Now, one more thing seniors need to hear. Never try to teach the officer the law on the roadside. If the officer is wrong, the roadside is still not the courtroom. Your goal is to survive the encounter and keep the case clean for later. Calm compliance and limited speech are what help you do that. Let me end with the key takeaway in plain English. When a cop says, "Step out," you do not need to panic and you do not need to argue. You say, "Officer, I will comply. Am I being detained and what is the reason? I'm going to move slowly." Then you move slowly with your hands visible and you stop volunteering information. And please subscribe, because I make these videos for one reason, so you and your family get home safe, not stuck in a nightmare that started with one misunderstood movement. Final legal disclaimer, simple and clear. This video is general education, not personal legal advice. Laws vary by state and facts change outcomes. If you need advice for your exact situation, talk to a licensed attorney where you live.